Welcome to King Moves. In chess, the king moves one step at a time, but that single move can change everything. Each week, we explore mindset shifts and simple actions that could lead to the next breakthrough in your business and life. I'm your co-host, Ethan King, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA. Entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Wealth Beyond Money.
And I'm your co-host, Justin King, no relation to Ethan, from Cape Town, South Africa. Entrepreneur, speaker, and business growth strategist. Our journey crosses continents and cultures as we think out loud, challenge assumptions, and uncover the small moves that create big momentum. Welcome to King Moves. Let's start the conversation. Off the back of my big birthday run, there's something that's been on my mind and I've been thinking about, and that was the fact that in order to complete these 10 marathons in 10 days, there was obviously some training that had to go into it. But what I wasn't able to do, and I think rightly so, I wasn't able to train at the volume or the distances that I actually had to run during the challenge. So what I mean by that is some of my really high volume training weeks were probably around 90 kilometers or something of that nature. Whereas the run itself, I did 430 kilometers in just over a weekend, or in a week and a half, just under a week and a half. So quite a big difference. And that's got me to thinking a lot about the professional athletes, not other professional athletes. I'm not a professional athlete. Athletes in general, they don't train at their max. So somebody who's looking to win an Olympic gold medal in the 100-meter sprint, they don't go out and every single day train at 100% of their ultimate ability, trying to run sub-10s for men, as an example, day in and day out. They'll have some slower sessions, some longer sessions, but so that they're ready when the time comes to really put that extra effort in, that they've prepared their body for being able to tackle the event itself, the real challenge. And where my mind has gone is, how do we do this in business? Because in my experience dealing with a lot of leaders in business, we seem to just redline ourselves every single day. We go to work and we are at capacity day in, day out. Whereas what I think we need to do is we need to learn when there are moments to take the foot off the gas, to be putting in the reps at 70%, 80% of our capacity, but knowing that we are prepared, and when the time comes, when we've got to go to 100, 110%, we know what it feels like and we can get there, but we've got something in the tank to give. So it's a bit of a long-winded question, but that's where my mind is at, and I'd love to get your thoughts.
The first thing that comes to my mind is, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So in work, because you're comparing work life to your fitness life, right? So you had this big, momentous 10 marathons in 10 days. If you compare that to the work world, that's like this huge multi-million-dollar project lands on your lap, and you have a very short window of time to get it done and very few resources, but you've got to get it done. So you might have to pull a bunch of all-nighters. You might have to, rally the team together. You might have to hire more people really quickly and develop at a rapid pace. But you know what? If you're ready, if you're mentally prepared to do that, and you have your team ready and your infrastructure ready, then you can handle that when it comes up, when the time comes. My mentor, Les Brown, he always says, it's better to be prepared for an opportunity that you don't get than to be unprepared for an opportunity that you do get. So that's what comes to mind for me. Like, Justin, you nailed, the 10 marathons in 10 days is a huge feat, but you were prepared for it. Even though you didn't train on that exact run, that exact distance, you don't necessarily have to do that. You don't have to play in the Super Bowl, practice the Super Bowl to play in the Super Bowl. You need practice in football. You need to be mentally prepared to dominate when the game time comes. And I would argue that your body, over the past 40 years, you've conditioned it to be ready to nail it for your 40th birthday. So all of that building up, even though you didn't do that exact run, prepared you for that run.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you and I are really aligned on this, but I do see a lot of people falling into the trap of, and I said it to you before we hit record, some people would have thought, or I even at one stage thought, man, how do I do 10 marathons in 10 days if I haven't done 10 marathons in 10 days? Like, you think you've got to train and do all that stuff in order to be able to do that stuff or do that thing. So what are some ways that business owners, leaders can just take their foot off the gas and not have to always redline it? And while you're thinking about that, I love what Michael Johnson speaks about, the sprinter. And he said he used to, when he got to the start line of a race, he used to ask himself two questions. It is, am I prepared? Which is exactly what you were speaking about now. And then the second one was, can I execute? Am I prepared and can I execute? And if he did a mental check, you said, I was good to go. It was like, I know I've got this and I'm bringing home the gold. So I think that's a big part of it is in the preparation is also confirming to yourself that when the moment presents itself, when that multi-million-dollar project lands on your lap, that the preparation that you have put in does allow you to execute. So it's finding that confidence.
Yeah, well, a lot of the preparation comes in the form of visualization. So you can be prepared for it in your mind. And so many athletes talk about the power of visualization. Like they will have visualized the entire race and crossing that finish line in first place over and over in their mind. So even though you didn't physically run 10 marathons to prepare for your 10 marathons, I'm sure you visualized it in your mind. You visualized a lot of that because you mapped out your course and everything. You knew where you were going to run. So in your mind, you were playing that movie out in your head. You in a way, you actually did practice those 10 marathons in 10 days.
Yeah. Call bullshit on that. You're not functioning at your the optimal you with 3 hours of sleep every single day. Yeah, I suppose I don't have the exact king moves. That's why I would really want to bounce this off you is what is that king move that allows you to dial it back while still being prepared and still knowing that I can execute. A lot of it is visualization. I like that feeling like experiencing that feeling of having done it and having achieved it without having to expend that energy itself. I think that's huge.
Well, two things we've covered so far. First, you need to have the infrastructure ready for the opportunity. So physically, your body, your infrastructure was ready to take on the challenge, even though you hadn't taken on that exact challenge before. In business, you need to have the infrastructure ready to scale up quickly when you need to, when a big opportunity comes across. Number two is visualization, which we just talked about, applies to fitness and to business. And then I would say the third thing, and maybe you can help me come up with the word for this, but it's preparation for the unexpected. And I'm going to use driving as a metaphor. So I remember when I first learned to drive, my older brother Aku taught me how to drive. And after we learned the basics and we got on the road, he said, always look 12 seconds ahead. And at first I was like, what do you mean 12 seconds ahead? And he said, you want to look down the road and think about all of the possible things that could possibly happen between now and when you're 12 seconds down the highway from now. And that's what we do when we're driving. You have to be subconsciously aware of what is this person doing over here? What is that person doing? What's happening behind me? And for an early driver, you really have to focus on all of those things at once. And it's a lot. But the more that we do it, then it just becomes second nature. It's just, it goes from our conscious to our subconscious mind. And I'm always thinking about when I'm driving, well, what if this person jumps in my lane? What if that person hits that person? What if this guy slams on his brakes in front of me? All of these possibilities are going on at the same time, yet I can still listen to the podcast I'm listening to and talk to my kids in the car, whatever it is, right? So I think that whatever that mental mechanism is called is part of the preparation also.
We are going to officially call it preemptive practice.
Nice.
That's to a large degree what you're speaking about. I like that. That allows you to get into the zone, into the flow, or put yourself on autopilot because you have done this thing before. You've got hours in the bank of doing this thing rather than everything being scary and new. I really like that. I think there's something to that. It's funny what you were saying now about being a new driver. I have moments where I think of when I'm driving, I think about exactly how RoboCop back in the 90s, when you would see through RoboCop's lens and RoboCop was little triangulating this and red line around that. That's exactly what we're doing. We just don't have that, but we calculating how far is that car from this, and is that bicycle about to walk right in front of me, and. Right. So we're doing that all the time. So preemptive practice. I really do like that. Amazing. Yeah. And the infrastructure, which was the second one, which you mentioned, which is huge, was the support that I had. If I had to think about it now, the seconders that I had, that was the difference between me practicing and preparation and doing the thing. It was more than just me. And very often in business, that's the same. We're preparing in isolation, but we're doing the thing within a team. And we've got that support. And because without that, my run would never have happened.
Yeah, talk a little bit
I liked
more
it.
about who was your infrastructure, who was your team on the run.
So there was Emma, who was cheapers. I'll be in trouble for saying that. Emma, my girlfriend, who is my girlfriend. and and my parents were the mainstay. So I did 6 of the 10 days with me, a few at the start and then a couple at the end. And my parents, being retirees, they were with me for the entire 10 days. So they were the real anchor of that support team. And genuinely, without them, none of this would have been possible. And what that looked like was it was essentially allowing me at the end of every day just to rest, put my feet up, and not have to worry about cooking a meal and getting ready for the next day or anything like that. They were helping take care of that. And then during the runs themselves, it was always being that moment of a big part of it, I'm going to call it, was a moment of motivation as well as a stop where I was being able to put my feet up, ice the ankle, have something to eat, have something to drink. And that was happening roughly every 45 minutes to an hour. So it was a massive, massive investment of support, time to do that support. But again, that was the infrastructure that I needed. I could do the preparation in isolation. I could prepare my body and my mind for what I needed to tackle, but I wouldn't have been able to do it without that additional support to actually do the 10 marathons in 10 days.
Yeah, that's awesome. A great point. And you got to have a strong team behind you. So infrastructure is the first point, visualization, second point, and then being prepared for all the possibilities. What's the term you said?
Preemptive practice.
Preemptive practice. All right. You got to be prepared for anything that comes your way. So let that be your king move for this week, and we'll see you next time.
Amazing. Thanks, Ethan.
That's a wrap for today's episode of King Moves. Remember, in chess, like in business, one right move can change everything. Take today's action step, make your move, and build momentum.
If you found value in today's episode, share it with someone who's ready for their next breakthrough. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our weekly conversations. Until next time.